I welcome you to the fifth video of the Rapid series, wherein we discuss the important current affairs targeting Prelims 2022 and in a very concise manner, removing all that which is not required. So let's begin with today's session. The first news is the Atlas of Mortality and Economic Losses from Weather, Climate and Water Extremes 1970-2019. So a report has been released on this particular topic, which has studied the mortality and economic losses which has happened out of the extreme climatic events that has happened over this period of time due to climate change and climate induced extreme weather events. So ये report release किया है World Meteorological Organization ने, which is an intergovernmental organization and which is also a specialized agency under the United Nations for meteorology, operational hydrology and related geophysical sciences. So what you need to remember is this was released by WMO, and one important finding out of this particular study is that 91% of all the deaths that have occurred because of these climate extreme events is in the developing countries. So these are the important takeaways out of this news. Next, the best practices in the performance of district hospitals. So this is an assessment report which was released by Niti Aayog recently, and this, as the name suggests, ये जो district hospitals हैं उसके performance को ये assess करता है. And this is the first of its kind. First time Niti Aayog has come up with any such assessment of district hospitals. The report is released jointly by Niti Aayog, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and WHO India. So ये तीनों entities ने मिलकर ये report prepare किया है, and the main body behind it is Niti Aayog. The main releasing authority is Niti Aayog, but the preparation of this report included three entities: Niti Aayog, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and WHO India. डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल्स इंडिया का जो हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम है वो उसमें सेकेंडरी हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम में आता है. सो इंडिया में थ्री लेवल पे हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम है. द फर्स्ट लेवल इज द प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम. द सेकेंड लेवल is the secondary treatment where the district hospital is also involved, and tertiary level includes the specialist services and specialist treatments along with the research and development and other practices. So these are the three tiers of healthcare in India. So initial point of contact is the primary healthcare system, where the patient goes, and if the condition is serious and requires the intervention of a specialist, then he or she is referred to the secondary healthcare system, and district hospital forms a part of the secondary healthcare system. So this is about the healthcare system in India. This is about the assessment report which was released for the first time, and Niti Aayog released it. These entities were involved in its preparation. Swachh Sarvekshan 2022. So Swachh Sarvekshan 2022 was released by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. This was launched by this ministry, and the another one is Swachh Sarvekshan Gramin 2021. This is released by Jal Shakti Ministry. So you need to you need to understand that there are two different ministries involved. For Gramin, it is the Jal Shakti Ministry, and for Swachh Sarvekshan 2022 as a whole, it is Ministry of Housing. So this is about the factual details, and it is a annual survey for cleanliness, hygiene, and sanitation in villages. This particular Swachh Sarvekshan Gramin. So this is about the survey in villages for cleanliness, hygiene, and sanitation. The existing survey procedure involved the assessment of 10 households per village. So to assess any village, those who were involved in the survey, they used to visit the village and they used to visit 10 households, and based on the assessment of 10 households, they used to rank the whole village. But this time one new thing was added, that waste disposal infrastructure of the village is also now measured, and its condition, its working is also assessed, and then that is also included along with this to assess the performance of that village in terms of the cleanliness, hygiene, and sanitation. So this is one new addition this year for 2021 Swachh Sarvekshan Gramin. It is conducted by a third-party agency, and the Swachh Sarvekshan as such is conducted by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And the first time it was conducted was in 2016, and since then it has been conducted annually. And it is the world's largest urban sanitation and cleanliness survey. So this is about urban sanitation, and then for Gramin there is separate, and it is released separately by Jal Shakti Ministry. Moving on, the next topic is on coal-based hydrogen. So hydrogen as a fuel is produced from multiple sources. It can be produced from coal, it can be produced from natural gas, it can be produced from electrolysis process. So there are multiple ways of producing it, and depending on that, there is different color coding given to such hydrogen. So if it is produced from electrolysis, then that is a very clean process. It does not involve CO2 emission in the production process. So that's why it is called green hydrogen. The hydrogen which is produced through electrolysis is called green hydrogen. The hydrogen which involves coal or methane, that has a demerit that it produces CO2 in the production process also. So using such hydrogen which is produced from either coal or methane is not that efficient alternative or clean alternative, because anyway in the production process a lot of CO2 is released. But that is not the case in green hydrogen which uses electrolysis. So that is why the shift should be towards green hydrogen. But anyways, the topic is coal-based hydrogen. So not electrolysis-based hydrogen, the coal-based hydrogen. What has happened is Ministry of Coal has constituted a task force and expert committee to prepare roadmap for coal-based hydrogen in India. That is the news. And globally, on a global scale, 76% of such hydrogen is derived from natural gas, 23% कोल से आता है, और उसके बाद का जो भी रिमेनिंग है that is from electrolysis. So we see that the least percentage of hydrogen is actually green hydrogen. The rest of it is non-green hydrogen. That means the rest of the production process uses the coal-based input, which is natural gas or coal, and that is why CO2 is released in the process. So it's not that clean. Coal is one of the important sources for production of hydrogen, and if we use coal to make hydrogen, that is called brown hydrogen. If we use natural gas to produce hydrogen, then that is called gray hydrogen. And if we use renewable energy or electrolysis process, renewable energy through electrolysis process, then that is called green hydrogen. So that is the color coding. You can see it here as well. So green hydrogen, brown hydrogen, gray hydrogen, and blue hydrogen. So green, as we know, the electrolysis process is called this, and hydrogen extracted from natural gas using steam methane reforming, that is called, this is a production process, and it uses natural gas as the input. So such hydrogen is called gray hydrogen. And hydrogen released produced using the fossil fuels, usually coal, mostly coal, that is called brown hydrogen. Okay, that uses gasification process. And gray hydrogen or brown hydrogen, in which sequestration is also there. So either it is gray or it is brown. In these cases, whatever CO2 is released, that is sequestered also through some processes. That CO2 release is also sequestered. If not all, then a significant part of CO2 will be sequestered, and that is called blue hydrogen. So that is the difference. No CO2 released at all, CO2 released, CO2 released. And here, in these process, whatever CO2 released is sequestered, then that becomes blue hydrogen. In coal-based hydrogen, let's just dig a little deeper. Partial oxidation process is used to produce hydrogen from the coal. So that means air is involved in the production of hydrogen when we are using coal. Okay, so some air is added, so which generates carbon dioxide. So this is, coal has carbon, we are adding air, so definitely carbon dioxide will be produced. So that is why it is said that we need to shift to green hydrogen, and gray or brown hydrogen is not a clean alternative. Then in India specifically, here we dealt about what is the global composition of hydrogen production. In India, however, 100% of hydrogen is produced from natural gas, and that is the reason this task force has been established to study the possibility of using coal as the input to produce hydrogen, because presently we are using only natural gas almost. So we want to diversify, and that's why this task committee has been formed. So much of the hydrogen that is produced in India today is used for oil refining, ammonia, methanol production, steel production. So there are so many applications of the hydrogen that is produced. Next is Havana Syndrome. Havana Syndrome was actually observed among US intelligence officer in India when he was in India. So that's why just briefly I'll tell you कि इसमें क्या इस syndrome में क्या symptoms होते हैं और ये क्या इसका assessment है. So it basically refers to a mental health symptom that typically involves hearing certain sound. उसमें कुछ आवाजें सुनाई देती, even though there is no such source for those voice, फिर भी वो कुछ आवाजें we get to hear, the patient get to hear those sounds. So that is the main symptom. Apart from that, the other some symptoms include nausea, vertigo, headaches, memory loss, and issues with balance. So these are the symptoms. And it is not that it was reported in India first, it was just in news recently, but for the first time it was reported in 2016 by the officials based in US Embassy in Cuba. Okay, so this is about the symptoms and about when it was first reported and when and where. So this is it for today. We'll meet with the set of new 5 topics in our next videos. Till then, keep studying well and all the best.